Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. 5 players that I think are overpriced right now in real money fantasy drafts. There's always players that are traps. There's players that are being overdrafted, that are being drafted on reputation instead of volume, or their past production based on, as opposed to what they're going to do this year in the future. It's easy to get locked into those sort of mistakes. I've fallen for in the past. We all have. But we have to try and be mindful and move forward and be a forward-thinking show. So here are 5 guys that I think are being drafted well ahead of where they should be. And I'm going to give you a couple of players at each one of those that are going to be examples of players I'd rather draft over them at a very similar ADP. So these are the players I don't want right now. That could change. If these players' prices change over the summer, we're going to revisit this video and do an update in a couple of months to see who the new players are that have ballooned, and if these players maybe have dropped down in value and now they're at a place where they're a little bit more palatable for us to be taking them. So right now, these are the guys that I think little overhyped, and really we kind of need to cool it and pick some other players, because production over talent, volume over talent, opportunity over talent is where things go. Thank you guys for being here on the new Fantasy Football channel. Subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. I'm going to be coming out with a ton of new off-season best ball, dynasty league, fantasy league content, tips, tools, players, picks, everything on this channel right here. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Leave me a reply down below with somebody that you think is overpriced coming into this 2022 fantasy football season. And let's go.
He's a legend.
Real money drafts are happening every single day over at underdogfantasy.com. You get a $100 deposit bonus. That's free money that you can spend on their pick'ems, on drafts for baseball or playoff NBA or NFL best ball drafts. They're going to be coming out with Best Ball Mania 3 this summer. That one last year was $1 million to first place for a season-long fantasy. It costs like $20 or $25. They have the puppy leagues, are a little smaller, $5 entry fee for those of you who don't want to spend that much on best ball. Whole lot of options. Right now, they've got the rookies and sophomores, which are fun, 4-player drafts. They have the pre-draft best ball tournament that's going to fill very, very soon. But test yourself. Instead of mock drafting, you should be doing best ball drafting, because it gives you a better aspect, a better viewpoint of the way people are actually drafting when money's on the line, instead of mock drafting where like they draft the first or second round and then they leave and you're drafting against lists. So drafting for money is always better than drafting against bots and lists. So head over to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, to get yourself a deposit bonus up to $100. Saquon Barkley is my first overhyped, overdrafted player on this list. Now look, none of these players that I'm listing are players that I don't like, that I think are not good players, that I think that I'm down on them or being disrespectful to them. It has nothing to do with them as a person. It has everything to do with where they're being picked versus the projectable volume and upside for that pick. Currently, Saquon Barkley is going at the top end of the 3rd round with an ADP of 27 as the RB12, still being drafted as a running back 1. Premier talent, right? Great speed, great in the open field, fantastic pass catching back. Unfortunately, he's playing on a team that is just not very good. So the touchdown upside is ridiculously muted. And with a quarterback who is, we kind of know what he is. There's a lot of quarterbacks that play poorly for 2 seasons and then they take a leap in their 3rd year. But there are very few, if any at all, that play very poorly for 3 years and then all of a sudden become an all-pro, all NFL type player in their 3rd year. Like, Jones is what he is at this point. And what he is not somebody who can sustain a lot of drives, throw for a lot of touchdowns, move the chains consistently on offense. And so somebody like Saquon Barkley falls prey to that, because the running back on a really good offense is always going to produce more fantasy points than a mediocre running back on a really good offense is going to create more fantasy points than a great running back on a bad offense. That's just the way that it goes. Now, if he was to get a ton of volume, kind of like Najee Harris did last season, on a bad offense with a bad offense, it was not actually a bad offense, had a really bad offensive line, that volume can make up for it. But like, with the amount of injuries that he sustained, from the ACL to even the random injury last year, that was not his fault. He was running a pass route and he stepped on somebody's foot and rolled his ankle, but like, it slowed him down. So if he plays all those games in a bad offense and gets the volume that he got that rookie year, sure, he could pay off this draft price. The problem is, we all seem to be chasing that rookie year statistical output from Saquon, and it just has not been there ever since. So I will not be chasing guys that I would rather take at this ADP. Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, definitely, possibly even Antonio Gibson over Saquon Barkley, just based on where their career arcs are in the offenses that they are in. Much better offenses, and in some cases, higher volume than Saquon. My next overdrafted player. Love the talent here again. Jalen Waddle is a fantastic wide receiver. Great route runner, game-breaking speed, playing for an offense that should be better this year. Unfortunately, they brought in another player like Tyreek Hill, who is a Hall of Fame caliber player in the NFL. One of the best deep threats, if not the best deep threat of all time. All apologies to Randy Moss. However, the amount of targets that Jalen Waddle was getting last season as the alpha in this offense, 12 targets, 11, 10, 10, 11, 7. So that's just not happening anymore with him now as the secondary receiver. Now, he might get greater efficiency on his targets because he'll never see double coverage as long as Tyreek Hill is on the other side. Offenses or defense is going to roll to that side to kind of stop Tyreek Hill. And so Jalen Waddle should be able to beat man-to-man, one-on-one coverage on the other side, so long as Tua can take a leap in his third year in his efficiency. So Waddle should see more one-on-one coverage, which is always good for a receiver with as good a route running skills and game-breaking speed as he has. And very honestly, a very talented and creative offensive coordinator turned head coach on his team now that's going to find new and inventive ways to get the ball into the hands of his playmakers. However, he is being drafted right now as the 33rd overall player and a wide receiver 11. I would rather take somebody like T. Higgins or DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, all being drafted at or below where Jalen Waddle is being drafted. Now, I think that ADP is going to fall, and if Waddle's ADP falls to like 45 or 50, now he becomes a buy for me. But at 33, I'm not buying because the volume is certainly going to take a hit, and now we're relying on drastic upticks in efficiency to get him to like that double-digit touchdown rate that guys like Hopkins, Evans, and even possibly Higgins could get to this season on, let's say, better offenses with better quarterback play, all that sort of thing. So for me, he is a pass at his current ADP, but there will come a point where I'd be willing to buy if it falls as the summer moves along. If you've not visited my shorts channel, everybody loves micro content. The TikTok and shorts generation is here. So if you wanted to go check out the Al Smizzle shorts channel, as well as all the other channels on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football Network, that would be greatly appreciated. I love the fact that you guys come back over and over for all the videos. So thank y'all for being here. And the DFS videos will always live on the main channel where they always have lived. So we'll be adding content to that over the summer here on the Fantasy Football channel. And then we'll have the little shorts as well as we continue to make those. DK Metcalf, another player on this list. You're noticing a theme here. It's all these players other than Barkley, players who have seen a change in their team. They're being drafted at what they were last year. Now, Metcalf would probably be a second round pick and maybe the fifth or sixth wide receiver off the board if Russ Wilson was still there. He's currently the 43rd pick with the wide receiver 15. Now, if you believe in Drew Lock, go ahead and draft DK Metcalf, because at least Drew Lock can throw the ball very far. And now he sometimes doesn't throw it to the players in the right uniform. His decision-making and ball security have not been great, but Seattle likes him, so maybe they keep DK Metcalf. Now, I think that some people are buying into Metcalf at this price because they think that there's a possibility that he gets traded to another really good offense as things go along over the course of April and May. As the draft gets here at the end of April and May and June, maybe he goes somewhere else and now he plops to Kansas City and it's like, oh, well, now he's catching balls from Patrick Mahomes, which would cause an ADP rise. And of course, I'd buy him as a 43rd pick or the wide receiver 15 if that were the case, but it's not. And I'm not trying to gamble with a lot of draft equity here in the top 3, 4, 5 rounds with guys, well, if this other thing happens, then he's going to be a value. I'd rather get guys like Deontay Johnson or DJ Moore or Terry McLaurin, who are in spots where we know what their volume is going to be and what that efficiency of that offense projects to be, and it's greater than what this Seattle Seahawks offense does project to be this year. So DK Metcalf is in fantasy purgatory for me right now, and a monster on the field, a fantasy producer anytime he gets the opportunity, but like, if that offense can't move the chains and they want to be a 3-yard and a cloud of dust offense with a quarterback that can't really throw the ball very efficiently, going from one of the historically most efficient quarterbacks ever to play the game in Russ Wilson to like Drew Lock, who has not shown that he is anywhere close to being it, Metcalf is going to take a massive hit. So like, he's not going to fall much further than this. So he's going to be somebody that I'm not going to end up with a lot of this best ball and off season for drafting for fantasy football. The price is just wrong. I don't agree with it. And this 12 touchdowns is probably not going to happen with the current state of the Seattle Seahawks offense. Elijah Mitchell had himself a great year last year, coming in as like the 5th running back on the draft board. Not on the draft board, 5th running back on the San Francisco 49ers depth charts, and then did very well with the opportunity he was given. Remember what I say all the time, and it's not my saying, it's just the reality of the situation, that I will take opportunity over talent all the time. And Eli Mitchell did a great job with the opportunity that he was given. However, that offense is in flux right now, and you've got a lot of situations that are pulling away from him, right? So as good as that offense was, and 207 carries for him last year, does not get utilized enough in the passing game, at least not consistently, right? So like 27 carries, 0 targets. Here he got 6. That's great. 0 targets here in an overtime game against the Rams that was very close. So like, losing red zone touches to Deebo Samuel is a ding against Elijah Mitchell, and potentially losing those inside the 5 carries if Trey Lance is indeed the starter, which we all, myself included, fully expect him to be this year. That's another guy who's a running threat around the goal line. So now you're taking away any sort of 10 to 15 touchdown upside from Eli Mitchell. So I would rather draft Ezekiel Elliott. Right now, Mitchell's being drafted as the 51st player off the board and the 22nd running back. Give me Ezekiel Elliott, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs. Give me those type of players who are the lead dog, who aren't going to lose touches around the goal line, who are going to be more consistently utilized in their team's passing game. Higher floor, higher ceiling for all 3 of those running backs, as opposed to Mitchell, who's being drafted ahead of all 3. So like, for me, this is another pass. It's a spot where like, if he was being drafted behind all these other players where the risk, is the reward outweighs the risk. Right now, you're taking this unnecessary risk with a lower floor player who does not also have the ceiling that those other guys have, because of the presence of 2 players, really, Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel, taking away all the touchdown upside from Eli. So he is a pure pass for me. I don't know that there is a realistic spot that he is going to fall to, as opposed to like Saquon or Jalen Waddle, where I would be buying back in. He is a fade for me currently, and probably throughout the entirety of this summer. I'm probably not going to have very many shares of Mitchell at all. Amari Cooper, right now, this is why I love Amari Cooper as a player. Great route runner, big time upside, great down the field, playing with a fantastic quarterback. No matter what you think about Deshaun Watson, he's a very good quarterback. That's a whole other video. That conversation is a whole different conversation and video that we're probably not going to get into, just because it's worn out already. We know, right? Bad human, good quarterback. The 58th pick right now is Amari Cooper, being drafted ahead of guys like Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, and Mike Williams. Big Mike for the Chargers. You could even put Mike Thomas into that as well for the Saints. The unknown is why I can't draft Amari Cooper in this spot. Now, if Amari Cooper is going to play 17 games with Deshaun Watson, then I think that this is probably fine, right? The 21st wide receiver off the board, you're drafting him as a low-end wide receiver 2. I get it. Everything makes sense. He fits very well into the skill set of Deshaun Watson in that Stefanski. Like, it all works if it's all there. The problem is we don't know if it's going to be there. Deshaun Watson still could see a massive suspension from the league. If he sees 3 games, then it's not that big a deal. But if he sees 8 or 10 games, it's a massive deal. Where Amari Cooper would have to be like an ADP of like 75 for me to want to buy, because the efficiency is not going to be there. The touchdowns aren't going to be there with whoever the backup quarterback is going to be on opening day. So there's a lot of risk involved here, and I'd rather take those other guys that I don't have to risk this early in draft season. So like, he's priced as though Watson's going to play the entire season, and there's a non-0% chance. Hell, there's like a 50 to 70% chance that he's going to see, or greater, that he's going to see some type of suspension. If that suspension is significant, then Amari Cooper's ADP is going to fall by rounds, not by picks, but by rounds, to like 2 or 3 rounds lower than it is right now. So I'm not trying to buy when he is being drafted at peak. Now, if he falls, now we'll consider it. But until then, I'm not buying on Amari Cooper. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.